Hello everybody, this is Christian from Some Addicts, and today I would like to share with you my ex-vegan story. Many people nowadays have an ex-vegan story. Perhaps many of us have been there. Many are still in the whole game of being vegan, trying to figure it out if it works for them or not. I was not one of them, unfortunately, perhaps fortunately. Nowadays, I suppose I'm pretty happy that it didn't work out, that I was proven to be wrong once again in my life, as I have been many times over. I think we always, and this is one of the most important lessons for all of us really, need to be open-minded and need to be open to the possibility that we have not figured life out. There's still so much to learn. And I definitely did have a lot to learn on this pathway through diet, health and nutrition, and even ethics, to be honest. So this all really started back when I was still living at home, and you could say my health was in a piss poor state at the time, most definitely. I was eating pretty standard crappy diet, perhaps what some would consider a standard American diet. I'm not from America, but it was a lot of junk. I ate ramen noodles, pizzas, and whatever our stepdad cooked for us and served, which certainly was not ideal by any means whatsoever. So my health was deteriorating at a very early age. Perhaps like most people, I grew up eating cereal, eating candy, soda, all this junk, right? And my parents, they didn't really think too much of it. They probably just wanted to please their children, and it was all good, right? Anyway, I turned out to have some gut issues, which I later found on behalf of severe skin issues that I had. The skin, obviously, I think, is an extension of your internal state in the body. You could say that the intestines are actually much like your skin outside the body. So the intestines, if you will, sort of just extend and loop outwards, covering the rest of your body, so to speak. So skin problems usually tend to be related to some gut dysbiosis, IBS, leaky gut. It could be that your microbiota is totally out of whack. There could be quite a lot of causes, candida, parasites, whatnot, right? And in my own case, I was diagnosed with what is called seborrheic dermatitis, which is an overgrowth of yeast in skin. And so I could assume that obviously I had a yeast overgrowth in my intestines as well. And I can most likely find a picture for you to put up on the screen for this video. My skin was pretty bad, and even on that picture itself, it was not as bad as it really has been at certain times. It was really so bad that I would get like gaping wounds at times, like slightly bleeding wounds protruding from my skin. And it wasn't because I was picking it or anything, it was just kind of bursting out, happening on my skin. So this is what led me on to a health journey, you could say. And looking online, researching, you find all these vegan preachers, you find documentaries, you find all these people making really, really convincing arguments for a plant-based diet. And then you connect the health aspect of the diet with the ethics of it, and you even add the whole environmental thing on top of it, and you're like, wow, yeah, I've found the holy grail of lifestyle. That's really how I believed it to be at the time. And boy, was I wrong. So I went down the whole path. I was vegan for 4 years. I converted quite a number of people to veganism on the path as well. I was very militant. I was super argumentative, as I have always had a tendency to be online. Nowadays, not so much. It's more of a live and let live type of thing, right? We're all here to learn anyway. So I and my partner, we went full on for 4 years into the vegan plant-based lifestyle. We were arguing, debating, doing activism, and I sort of realized down the line, 3 years into it, that I'm really in this sort of echo chamber, just arguing, listening to these people, these preachers online every single day, reading the studies. You know, if you're continually exposing yourself to this same mindset over and over every single day, well, it's not like you have any ability to really perceive other possibilities out there. So I was full on and I gave it my all. Most people who quit veganism will have seen that people who are still or currently into veganism will tell them that obviously you did it wrong. I did not do it wrong. I don't believe I did it wrong. I don't know how I could have done it correctly if what I did wasn't enough. Um, Essentially, what I came to conclude is the only thing that I could have really done differently is to ferment and sprout every single grain, seed, nut, and whatnot I would ever even consider putting into my mouth. And if you have to live that sort of life in order to micromanage your diet, well, question is, one, is it worth it? Two, is it really what we're supposed to eat? And so I ate whole foods, organic foods only. I tried raw here and there. I tried fruitarian. I tried mixing and matching all the various foods, listening to the studies, listening to the doctors, and nothing worked. My skin got worse. I was underweight. I ate copious amounts of food. We're talking like, for one meal, I would sometimes eat 3 to 5 like heaping plates of food. I'd be cooking food for a whole family, and it would just be for myself. Um, my partner at the time, she was pooping out like big chunks of food. She wasn't even digesting it properly, and no, we weren't eating any corn. Uh, this was just regular organic food, produce, right? She was shitting it all out. She wasn't even digesting it, breaking it down. And this is like 3, 4 years into it. I mean, at this point, our digestive system, our microbiota should have definitely adapted to it. So she was shutting down from the inside. I was shutting down visibly from the outside, which is a great indication of what my health was like on the inside as well. And it dawned on me like 3 years into it that perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps the plant-based vegan lifestyle just isn't it. It was a hard one to swallow, but essentially I stopped arguing with people. I was open to look at the other camp, and at that time I found a few people who had quit veganism, and many of them had gone full carnivore, and it was serving them, and many of them nowadays have even gravitated away from that. And so I was still technically vegan, plant-based, following the protocols for a year at this point, and I went on a holiday with my partner. One time she didn't feel good. She stayed back at the hotel room. I went to the restaurant on my own. I saw the menu and I was like, damn, something in me just wants to order the seafood off this menu. And I figured my partner's not there. I'll give it a shot, all right? And intuitive as I can be at times, I knew in the back of my mind that she's going to go down there and bust me eating seafood. So I ordered seafood. It's very tasty. Thank you. And just as I suspected, my partner at the time, she walks down. She asks me, "What are you eating?" I can't tell a lie, so I just tell her straight up, I ordered prawns, I ordered fish. She had an absolute meltdown, and she could not believe me. She was ready to leave me, and I told myself, okay, it's fine if she leaves. I will endure the plant-based diet as long as we're on holiday together. I don't want to ruin it. But I knew in my heart that quitting the plant-based diet was the right thing to do. So we came through that whole experience. It was fine, and I started to give her little key pointers that perhaps her clear health issues were an indication that she might want to consider eating some liver, trying some fish, whatever. Just consider it, putting it out there. Started showing her some videos of people who have had similar issues and quit the vegan diet and how it worked for them. And slowly but surely, just like I managed to convert her to veganism in the first time, she listened to me and we quit. So then we made a full 180 and started eating meat. I ate a lot of raw meat, a lot of raw liver, and within a month, all my friends, family told me I looked a lot healthier than I did before. I think at my lowest of veganism, I was at 56 kilograms. Mind you, I'm a meter and 86 centimeters tall. So I had the weight of a little girl, tall as a man. Yeah, definitely not a pretty sight. I was skin and bones, all right? So I started eating a lot of meat, raw meat, and it was very nourishing for my body. It was treating me very well. And I have been doing that for just about 4 or 5 years now. I've not had any complications. Raw meat, a lot of people in public, they think I'll get parasite overload, they think I'll die or get sick or whatnot. I am of the conviction that if you eat healthy, grass-fed, well-sourced animals, there will be no problem whatsoever. We're the only species on this planet that ever cooked their food. I am not of the conviction that we require cooked food to survive. This does not mean that I don't eat cooked food. I still eat a lot of cooked food, mostly because of taste pleasure. It gets a bit bland eating raw beef, raw eggs every single day, right? But essentially I came to find that all the studies, all the claims of health made by the plant-based vegan community, they turned out to be wrong. For instance, the bioavailability of nutrients is abysmal from plants. The toxicity profile of various plants, due to the fact that plants don't have any defense mechanisms other than biochemical warfare, this is not something that is talked about very much by people in the plant-based vegan community. These are potential things that could wreak havoc on your body long term. There are potential, especially if your intestinal health is compromised, there could be reason to believe that even all this excessive fiber intake that you will tend to have on a plant-based diet could result in some major issues for you as well, potentially leaky gut, IBS. And generally, the conversion rate of the plant-based form of nutrients to the animal-based form that we require is, in some cases, next to none. And if you're lucky, you might get a little bit here and there, but people, they go on Chronometer, they type in, they get the kale, they get the spinach, get the broccoli, whatever, put in some fruit, whatever you eat, your legumes, and they're thinking, wow, I'm getting all these nutrients, look at my diet, it's all matching out 100%, 300%, but you're not getting what's on the label. You're not getting what Chronometer is telling you. You're getting a fraction of that. Even if you're eating primarily animal-based foods, you need to consider that the values that you're seeing on the screen or on the label do not actually match up with what is in the food, for one, because of the food quality in the world being atrocious, and secondly, that we have to actually convert and absorb said nutrients in order to utilize them. So, adding all that up and considering my own experience going through this transformation, this transition, I concluded that, as is pretty obvious from an evolutionary perspective across the last 4.5 million years, that humans, wow, are meant to eat meat. So I started eating a lot of meat, and I actually went as extreme with meat eating as I did with veganism, and it is nothing short of incredible what sticking to. So I consider eating the carnivore diet, it's an elimination diet. It is perhaps the best elimination diet if you find the right source quality food that you can tolerate. Because for me personally, eating just beef is extremely low inflammation. My skin, when I'm eating 100% strict, just beef, grass-fed beef, it will clear up entirely. I still have like minor issues here and there. I'm not perfect. I'm not living perfectly. I'm not trying to. I want to enjoy my life a little. Um, I'm not so extreme about it anymore because I know that overall I've been able to heal, I'd say, 95% of my health problems switching to a primarily animal-based diet. So I don't mind experimenting a bit still here and there. I'm not fanatic about the carnivore diet, which I have been. I have been there as well. Um, that's usually how I am. I can be pretty extreme, go from one end to the other, and argue both sides. But I think the best way to really get an understanding of something, get an understanding of life in general, is to see both polarities, experience them yourself, and see if you can find like the middle ground. Buddha said it's all about the golden middle way. I don't know if that's necessarily always true, but in this case in particular, I definitely think you don't want to be extreme about it, but you want to know both extremes to really determine what is most suitable for you. You personally, your own configuration, your own sensitivities, and also evolutionarily what makes sense as a human being on planet Earth. So there's one thing I want to add here. Many people believe that, oh, some people might do better on a plant-based diet than others. I mean, it is possible that some people can thrive on a plant-based diet. I'm not saying it's impossible. There are examples of people online who have gone 10, 20 years. I lasted 4 years, and it was more than enough to determine that it is not for me. It is hard for me to really determine if your genetic ancestry plays such a big part. I'm not sure that it does. We're all the same species. And you don't see, let's say, giraffes or tigers placed across the world in different continents, eating diets that would be considered majorly different from one another. So I don't think that just by virtue of having a different ancestry that we then for that reason have different dietary needs from a biological perspective. I think what really plays a part is that the food we grew up with has affected our microbiome to a certain extent, and we are able to tolerate different foods to different extents. That might allow someone to tolerate a variety of plant foods to a higher degree than someone else, for instance. That is one factor. Another factor is that we all have different sensitivities. We are compromised health-wise to different degrees, and these food sensitivities that we have can also result in you being able to or not be able to digest, break down, and tolerate various foods. So that could be a determining factor that differentiates some people's food tolerance from others. But really, to wrap this up, I would say that the most important part in your health journey, in my health journey, is to tune in, listen to your biomarkers. Your body will tell you quite clearly through the symptoms that you're experiencing if it is thriving or if it's coping to survive with what you're giving it. So I would really urge you to listen to your body and consider that perhaps we are not so advanced, neither scientifically or mentally in ourselves, to always be able to determine what is true and right to do for us in a particular situation. There's so much misinformation out in the world, and be open, experiment, see what works for you. And with that, much love. Thank you.